Good afternoon. Welcome to Hard Answers from Hardin. Today we're going to start with a question that comes in. Why can't my lender lower my principal balance? Simple question. The answer's a little harder. We have to go back to our mortgage mess. We have to go back and talk about how those loans were securitized. Now, we spent a great amount of time talking about securitization and how that works and what type of securitizations were put out there. But once they're done, we find ourselves in this mortgage mess. We've got a restriction of financing options, slowing down sales, and as sales slow down, value begins to drop, and as values drop, the demand for the property drops, etc., and we blow up this engine that was running. Why was this engine running so hard? Do we really think it was Wall Street greed? Probably. But I will tell you, it's not within a conspiracy theory, but it's a fact. Our own Fed and our Treasury knew that our country was running into a major problem. There's an interesting chart from T2 Partners from about 1998 to 2008 that looks at year-on-year gross domestic product growth, GDP growth. And they look like great numbers, and our country's booming, and we're growing, and look at all this growth, and we're doing great. But they did an exercise. They went in and said, what if we took out of that our extraction of home equity? That is all that money every year that we're putting back in the market from flipping properties, doing cash out refis, buying more furniture, cars, etc. What if we took all that out? It was amazing, the impact. Our GDP numbers now dropped to a few years, and there were negative years. All of a sudden we realized our country was not as healthy as we all thought. And so we want to know why Wall Street did what it did. It knew it had to do something. And deregulation allowed it to begin because they were funding the country. Well, we finally came due, and it's time to pay the piper. So now what do we got? We've got a mess, and we have all these mortgages, right? Well, back in that day, Fannie, Freddie, and FHA were the minority of the loans being done, and the majority of those loans that were being done through private securitization, okay? And those private securitizations, as we talked about before, were in many forms, but when they securitize a loan, they are still leaving a servicer in place. That's your servicer. Let's say it's Chase, it's Wells, it's B of A, etc., that everybody thinks owns their loan, but they really don't. And then we say, well, who's the note holder? Well, that's a little more complicated because those securitizations were special purpose vehicles, right? These are bankruptcy remote SPVs that are now going to handle the remittances of those payments from the servicer to ultimately all the investors that invested in it. And we talked about who all those investors are and what countries they're from. So we have those occurring, but we need a contract in place, and that contract in place is called a pooling and servicing agreement or a master servicing agreement. I'll shorten it to PSA and MSA as we talk. But that agreement is very clear about one key piece of its language, and that is a servicer cannot engage in loss mitigation activities until the homeowner is seriously delinquent. What does that mean? Well, seriously delinquent means you are 60 days late. So you want to know why homeowners would call their lenders, I want help, and the $15 an hour rivet-faced tattooed tushy kid at the other end of the line goes, I'm sorry, I can't help you until you're 60 days late. Homeowner hangs up. What did he hear? Go late. We will help you. Funny part is, once you've gone 60 days late, the only person left to help you is the damn servicer. So we've created this problem, and it's all tied into these pooling and servicing agreements. Nowhere in those agreements from those past private securitizations, as well as Fannie and Freddie, is there any language that says, Mr. Servicer, you now may reduce the principal balance on this loan if all the rest of this doesn't work. And Lord knows we've all seen what's happened with HAMP. It doesn't work. And in another video, I'm going to talk about loan modifications and the scam that they are and the shame that should be felt by a lot of third-party folks that are trying to do them. But right now, we're going to focus on the fact that, Mr. Homeowner, until such time as something changes in the market, until your servicer owns your loan, is no longer governed by a servicing agreement, will you have the ability to get a principal reduction. So it should not come as a shock to everyone that most servicers are against principal reduction. They have to be. It's not in the contract. Thank you for listening to Hard Answers from Hardin. I hope it was interesting for you.